The World Health Organization is advising that gender and sexuality education should start at birth. You know, there's big rows about whether they should be taught in primary school and what age in primary school. No, at birth you need to start talking about not just, oh, are you sure you're a boy? Are you sure you're a girl? You also need to talk about sexuality, your actual sexual preferences, your sexual feelings, to babies and toddlers and even young children in infant school. What is going on? We'll talk about that. Also, an extraordinary new report from the Civitas think tank showing that most teenagers know people at school who want to swap their gender. Let's talk about this with Helen Joyce. She's Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters. She's also author of the brilliant book Trans, now retitled actually as Transgender Identity and the New Battle for Women's Rights. Good morning to you.
Hi, Julia.
I mean, deep sigh. I don't know where to start with this, Helen. Let's try and start with the World Health Organization. I mean, yet again, I mean, I just find now anytime anything mentions the WHO, I start getting a little bit wary in terms of them wanting to have their little clutches and everything. You know, they were supposed to be the people who would save us from things like pandemics and be helpful, but now they want to be involved in everything. I don't know why they've got anything to do with gender and sexuality education, but the idea that children as young as, 0, early stages, here you go, blue, that's a square, that's a cow, that's a sheep. Oh, by the way, are you a boy or a girl? I mean, most parents will think this is insane, and quite rightly.
Absolutely. And I don't know why they don't suggest, talking to your baby in the womb about this if you're going to start at birth. It's equally stupid. The reason they're doing this is in part because they are now rebadging issues to do with gender as not a mental condition, but as just a part of sex. Part of your sex, but specifically part of sex and sex education, even though, they also say that it's not about your sex, it's about your gender. Who knows what they actually think? I mean, everybody knows that the most you need to say to little children is some people have 2 mummies, some people have 2 daddies, babies are in mummy's tummy and will come out. Like, there you go. And you follow their lead after that. You shouldn't be talking about these things in primary school.
And you very much get led. Children. Yeah, you get led by that. But again, also there's the normalisation. Look, again, people always liken this as this is about gay rights. This is how people talked about gay people. Section 28 and everything. And it's exactly the same. And how we're now we're just bigots because we raised this because it's about trans things. No, because people actually are gay. People literally are. You are attracted to people of the opposite sex. You're attracted to people of the same sex. We know that is a real thing.
But you won't know it until you're a teenager.
Well, yeah,
and leave it till then.
Oh, so I know a lot of people who knew sort of 6, 7, 8. They thought, I'm feeling attraction. But again, that's something as it arises. You may want to talk, and you need to make the environment needs to be open and welcoming, so that people who do want to talk about it feel that it's comfortable and they'll be accepted when they do want to talk about it. But I'd like to go to a point where it's not even an issue; it's just something that's casually mentioned. But the trans issue, again, this is something you've talked about in your book. This crucial thing. This is not anti-trans. It's not bigoted. It's simply a point that someone who was trans, this was treated until only a very few short years ago, as you say, a mental health condition. That's not being bigoted and nasty. Someone thinking that they've been born in the wrong body is not a real thing. Them thinking it is gender dysphoria. It was treated as a mental health condition, and it should be treated with kindness and with respect and professionalism, and we should be, in no way prejudiced against people. But we shouldn't treat it as a reality, as in you actually are born in the wrong body, because your body is your body.
Yeah, and it's a social contagion. You put these ideas into people's heads, especially teenage girls who, all teenage girls go through a period when they think that, their bodies are wrong. It's all very uncomfortable. They're seeing online porn. Yeah. You're 14 and grown-up men are leching at you. And then you tell girls that if you feel uncomfortable with your body, it's gender dysphoria, or you're trans, or you were meant to be a boy. I suspect that the large number of these kids, so that report suggested that about 1/10 of older teenagers, 16 to 18-year-olds, wanted to change gender. I suspect a large majority of those are teenage girls who are saying they're non-binary, which is a way of saying, don't see me only as breasts on legs.
Yeah, I've got friends who are going through this with their children. This is basically an epidemic in certainly in North London schools. But that's the interesting thing. This is happening in specific areas, where it's like, as you say, social contagion. One girl does it. Now, again, this may be sort of, some unhappy children who are mixed up, and often we find, especially with girls, this massive increase in the number of girls who are claiming to be either non-binary or to be trans, and try and keep up everyone. Those are different things. And again, claiming to be, I'm not being dismissive. It's like, you're not non-binary. You're either a boy or a girl. So you're not.
Yeah, you're going through something.
That's not
you're going through something.
But it's incredible. Often they think an awful lot of these girls are actually they're lesbian and they feel uncomfortable about that and don't want to admit it. And as you say, it's also the so-called contagion. It's also a look at me thing. The attention that people get when they do this, they become special. They become talked about, but also they've got a reason for why they feel just, maybe a bit like an odd one out. They don't feel comfortable. They don't.
But who doesn't feel like an odd one out? I think it's gone well past the early adopters who are autistic or going to grow up to be gay or were being bullied. And now it's just perfectly ordinary girls who've been told in school that being a girl means liking pink and wanting to doll up and thinking about boys and shopping and so on. And they think, well, that's not me. I'm a full human being. And so to be a full human being, you almost have to say, I'm not a girl. It's just ridiculous. We need to just go back to saying, everybody's either a boy or a girl and do what you like.
But exactly. And what's so funny is this came about at a time when actually we got to the point where, women could dress how they want. Everyone's been really quite easy about men dressing how they want. I mean, God, you remember, David Beckham wearing a sarong. I mean, it was, a fashion statement. Men are preening themselves like women did. I mean, for years, it just seemed to me we got to a point where there wasn't an issue at all. And then suddenly we decided to make a new thing. I mean, this is the thing. This Civitas think tank research saying the majority of teenagers know someone at their school who claims to want to change gender or already has. This is a poll of 1,200 teenagers aged 16 to 18. 10% claim they wanted to change their gender or had already done so. 54% said they knew someone at their school. Mind you don't only need to have one kid in the school and the toilets have become unisex and everyone knows it's because of John who now calls himself Jane or Jane who now calls herself John. And everyone would know who that was. So there don't even need to be many kids. You only have one kid in the school and then...
Well, that's the issue. I mean, what's happening is it's changing policy. I wouldn't care if, 100% of kids went through a phase of calling themselves unicorn gender for a bit, if there weren't consequences to it. But there are consequences for the kids. Some of them end up medicalised. They also all learn regressive stereotypes as the definition of what it is to be a boy or a girl. Yeah. But most of all, these are the people who are learning in school to grow up and to try to destroy the things that were made specifically for women's benefit. Yeah. These will be the same people who argue against women-only sports, who argue against women-only toilets and changing rooms, the same people who try to silence people who talk about the differences between the two sexes. And so they're being indoctrinated in much more than self-hatred. They're being indoctrinated to destroy things that 100% of people need and value. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And lots of parents are just completely unaware of what is going on at their school. The kids are keeping quiet of it because they know the reaction at home. The teachers have been indoctrinated. A lot of teachers actually, falling foul and getting sacked for saying, I'm not willing to play along with this anymore. And they're being instructed. There's the propaganda on this is really quite extraordinary. And anyone who speaks out, and I know people who've been, their kids, they've told you there are more than two genders. They said, no, they're not. There's only men and women. And they've been sent to detention. For stating biological fact. We really need to... I mean, that's the thing a lot of people are really frustrated by. Why on earth is this happening under a Conservative government? Why are they not saying, you cannot do this? This is illegal. It must not happen. Because the vast majority of parents would be cheering the government on. Well, they're bringing out schools' guidance. They promised it, the draft, by half-term, and I sincerely hope that tells schools in no uncertain terms that they can't let boys use girls' toilets, even if those boys say they're girls. Tell people that they can't enforce pronouns and say that it's bullying if you won't call them. Well, I've not got much hope, given that Westminster authorities have drawn up gender identity guidance for civil servants in the House of Commons and House of Lords, and they've been told to report to police use of gender pronouns and report negative behaviours. I mean, we're in Orwellian thought police in Westminster. That comes from these awful groups, these affinity groups, the LGBTQIA++ affinity groups. These are the people who pump out this nonsense. And they've got a sort of a hotline to management because management thinks they need to, for equality, diversity and inclusion reasons, they need to go to the LGBT group for this, they need to go to the black and minority ethnic group for that, they need to go to whatever, And so these groups put out these things and they kind of go under the radar. And then suddenly everybody in the organisation has got some idiotic memo about how you can't say that the men can't use women's toilets and you must put pronouns in your email signature. We've got to catch it. We need to face up to it. We've got to catch it. We've got to stop it and put an end to it. Bring back sanity. Helen Joyce, you're doing your best for that. I'll tell you that. Thank you so much for joining us.